This week's species is popular throughout the entire state. The first time I ever caught one, I was in the Florida Keys off of the Dry Tortugas. They are fun to catch and even better to eat. We're talking about the red snappers here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
This is the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and this weekend we're celebrating all of the daddy anglers out there, and I actually happen to have one standing right here. It's good to have you back by my side, Rick.
It's great to be back, Brie. I can't wait to fill everybody in on why I've been tardy lately.
Out.
But we'll talk about it a little later. I can't wait to see what the dudes are talking about tonight.
Well,
Schnappers.
I was just going to say, can you just say it one more time?
Schnappers.
One more time. All right, well, before we see who our first captain is, let's head to the CCA workbench to say hi to Dave Farrell, who's ready for red snapper tonight, aren't you, Dave?
I am ready. I like to catch red snapper, and we catch a lot of them up where I live in the Cape Canaveral area, so we're going to talk a little bit about catching the great big red snappers.
Oh, that sounds good to me. All right,
well,
we're
the great big ones.
Great big ones. We're starting our weekend in the Casa Vieja Southwest region, where we're always seeing those big old red snappers. So let's check with Captain Ronnie Houston to see what we need to know. Let's go, Ronnie.
Well, Brie and Rick, like you say, there's a wonderful weekend coming up. It's Father's Day weekend, and that's very special to me because you know what? I wouldn't be where I'm at today if my dad didn't take me and my brothers fishing as a kid, made me enjoy the outdoors, but most of all, I have a passion to do what I do. You know, the red snappers, you know, one thing you need to know about red snapper for recreational and commercial guys is you got to always check to see when the open and closed seasons are. It really varies from year to year. But since the opening June 1st, guys have been concentrating in depths of about 150 feet and beyond, anywhere between Marco and Sanibel. Now, there's several different ways you can catch fish. You can anchor or you can drift. But, you know, a lot of guys like looking on that bottom finder, looking for areas of bait, especially when it's raised up the bottom. Now, most importantly, though, once you find all this stuff, when you're anchoring, you got to make sure you consider the wind and the current. So when you anchor up, you want to make sure you're dropping down over the structure. If you're not near the structure, you're not going to get the bite. And when you do drop over the structure, the bite's going to happen kind of quick, especially when the fish are aggressive, and you're going to get limits pretty quick. You also want to make sure you have a variety of weights. Wind and current make a big difference out there, as well as the depth. Have a variety of weights to make sure you're on the bottom. 80-pound fluorocarbon is probably going to be the deal for you. Cut baits do work well, but live baits are helpful when the bite is kind of slower. You got a slow-moving current on those slow-moving current days. And I've got a couple of pictures here. One of Capt Mike Avanon with doubled up on some red snappers on opening week. And then I got a picture of a scamp caught while fishing with Captain Bo Johnson to the north. And generally when you get to those depths of 150 feet or more, there's a variety of fish you'll catch besides the red snapper. Now still offshore, the gag groupers. Now Captain Bo Johnson to the north reports anywhere between Sanibel and Stunt Pass. Fishing areas of hard bottom and ledges is what he's concentrating on for the gag groupers. He's starting a little shallower up to the north. He's starting in depths of 130 feet, working out to 170. He's also telling me, you want to make sure you have about 80-pound leader, having enough weight. You know, being on the bottom is also going to be important, but you want to be ready for that bite. You got to be ready for it. It's important to get a jump on those fish, but they're simply going to get back in a hole or break you off, and you're not going to catch the fish. Now, funny thing he's telling me is he says cut and live baits do work well, but the live bait bite for him right now is not going to happen. He's catching all his gags right now on frozen squid, cigar minnows, or sardines, nothing live. And I got a picture of a nice fish that's been caught while fishing up there with Captain Bo Johnson to the north.
Nice.
Before we go inshore, guys, just a quick reminder. CCA started last week, beginning of June. You guys got to make sure you're registered. If you're not registered and you catch some of these fish, especially these tag fish, you're not going to win. And also, giving away plenty of boats, some scholarships, and some prizes. So just make sure you register for CCA Star. Hate to see you lose out on that. Inshore is the trout. You know, there's a few different ways to catch them presently. Pine Island Sound, look for bait and birds in depths of about 2 to 6 feet of water using soft plastic paddle tails on a jig head, anywhere from 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce. You can also use chumming live pilchers But the Bass Assassin Oval Quick Cork, known as Making Cork, will also work with a variety of soft plastic paddle tails or artificial shrimps. Now to the south, if you're looking for a personal best, anywhere from Marco on down to the Everglades, when you would concentrate on looking for clean water, when you be getting around wood stumps, blowdowns at high water, I strongly suggest using saltwater walk the dog lures like the Berkeley Jaywalkers. Chrome or bone has been working well, but also here we go again when you're fishing for trout, the Bass Assassin Oval Quick Cork with chicken on a chain in and around those stumps has also been working, but you can also get in those areas with the patterns I have mentioned and simply chum live filters to try to draw these bigger trout out. Some of these Triton right now are up to about 26 inches. Last species is going to be the snook, the Everglades backcountry, especially on the windy days. For the last week and a half, we've had westerly winds, southwest, west, which has been making fun for fishing in the outside. So the Everglades backcountry. You want to also concentrate when you get in the back fishing area where current, on points, and wind-driven shoreline. You can also concentrate on the feeder creeks dumping into the bays and also areas of deadwood. Now, a variety of artificials are going to work in the backcountry, including bucktail stipwood shrimp, saltwater walk-the-dog lures, but a lure I tend to like a lot now in the backcountry is the Berkeley Juke. Colors have been pearl or mullet colors, or you can simply use soft plastic Bass Assassin dye dappers in snowstorming color, or 4-inch bright color chugging lures. And I got a prime example of an oversized snook that was caught while I was fishing last week in the Everglades backcountry.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie, for starting us off. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Serenity Bait Company hotspots from the Southwest region inshore. Tarpon, with the recent rains, look like the water flow on the lee shorelines early in the morning and late in the afternoon. The rain along the Caloosahatchee River is really helping that tarpon fishing. And then also offshore, cobias and permit, Pavilion Key to Wiggins Pass, the wrecks, the towers, the artificial reefs using live crabs, swim baits, and large live baits.
All right, well, now's the time to get out there in the Seasucker Panhandle region and get you some red
Groupas? Nah, snappers.
That
I'm
went
just playing
so
with you.
wrong. I just wanted to hear you say it. I can't say it the same way. Yeah, red schnappers for the dinner table. Captain Pat, happy Father's Day early to you.
Hey, Brie, thank you. Yeah, red snapper fishing is extremely popular in the Panhandle. And in fact, at one time, the red snappers were known as Pensacola red snapper. That's how endemic they are. The season opens for recreational anglers Friday the 16th, which will include state and federal waters, and there appears to be a healthy amount of them around. The federal water charter boats, the guys permitted, with the federal permits, they've been able to catch them since the 1st of June, and they've been doing really well. The snappers are structure-oriented and depths generally 60-plus feet of water in the Gulf, but they are often caught in the deeper parts of our bays, particularly Pensacola Bay and also Panama City Bay, where they've got some good 50, 60-foot depths inside the bay. Most red snappers are going to be caught on a slip sinker rig with 5 to 7 feet of 40 to 60-pound leader and a circle hook baited with a small live bait like a cigar minnow, a pilchard, or herring. Like Ronnie just mentioned, the cut bait does work for them, but not like live baits are going to work for them. Fish with your rod tip up high. When you get the bite, drop that tip on the bite and then start cranking. And you can also chum them to the surface with chunk baits and then free line a hook chunk bait. This way you can fish with lighter tackle and watch them eat just set up off of the structure or up current so that your chunk brings them to you, and that way they can't go straight down onto the structure. And that's personally my favorite way to fish for red snapper. It's fun. You get to watch them eat, and you almost get to pick out the one you want to catch. Staying offshore, the northern Gulf has had some fantastically beautiful water so far this season. And along with that, it has been some really good fishing with some big marlins in the mix. The past couple of tournaments have been won with 700-plus pounders, I think a 776 and a 720-something. And then there's a whole bunch of marlins being released. The boat raised them up out of Sandestin with Captain Hunter Forbes. They broke a shaft on their way offshore this past weekend, lost the wheel, fished all weekend on one engine, still managed a handful of blue marlin and 3 white marlin. So, the fishing is really good. The biggest fish and the most numbers are coming from fish in the floating rigs to the southwest, but open water bites and the Okaloosa pads have also been good. Around the rigs, most crews are particularly targeting blue marlin using live tunas for bait, but trolling a mixed spread of lures and plastics will definitely work. And you can cover more ground and get a variety of fish, just like this wahoo in the photos from Barry Barnes out of Fort Walton Beach. Really nice lit up wahoo, zebra stripes on it. And that's what happens when you troll a mixed spread offshore.
You got it. Let's go.
Moving inshore, actually near shore, along the beach, tarpon fishing this past week has been pretty strong, although the recent west winds and skis have put a damper on them, and it looks like we're going to have those for probably a week or so. But regardless, the fish are here in numbers throughout the entire sea sucker region. As the fish are migrating east to west, there's lots of boat traffic, so if you want to get bites, be nice to the fish. Don't chase the fish. Stay up ahead of them or let them come to you. But if you're chasing them, you're not going to get a bite most of the time. And find a quiet section, where there's not a lot of traffic. We've been using live baits like herrings, alewives, and cigar minnows. These are they're nose hooked with a 7-aught trocar and a 60-pound leader or fluorocarbon leader for the bite leader. There's some smaller fish around, but the average size seems to be rising with plenty of 100-plus pounders and some really true giants, swimming around lately. There's a photo of Jason Nelson, this young man of Shalimar, fishing with his dad, Captain Josh Nelson. They were fishing out of Destin. Chase caught his first tarpon. That's it. Conditions were great for him to get in the water and get a nice, safe shot and a healthy release. So, congratulations, Jace.
Cool.
Finally, inshore, the redfish bite's been pretty consistent throughout the region. In Destin and in the Sound, guys are doing best by fishing points and docks near bayou mouths. They're chumming with live pilchers in Menhaden and fishing their bait either free-lined or under a cork. Well, if you got higher current conditions, you may need a slip sinker rig. But if you're a lure fisherman, use your troller and cover some ground, cast some prospecting baits like spoons and soft plastics on a light jig head. And there's a photo of a nice slot redfish called live bait with Captain Jonathan Goody Goodhart out of Destin, really close to Destin Bridge. I don't know what's in the background there, but the fish has been good.
Thank you so much, Pat. I hope that bad weather doesn't mess you guys up too bad this weekend. I'm going to go and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, catch the afternoon outgoing tide on the halfway bridge and either free line live baits or fish swim baits for the deeper big bull reds. And then offshore, red snapper season's open for recreational anglers in state and federal waters. You've live bait on the bottom structure in 80+ feet of water.
Do you know about them big bull redfish, Rick?
I do.
You do, all too well recently.
Yes.
Jealous. All right, we're dropping our lines into the Dynapack Southeast region, and Dave Farrell is giving us a little snapper coaching sesh for Academy Sports and Outdoors.
A what?
Oh, a snapper coaching sesh.
I got you.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Is that right? We're doing that?
Yes, we are. That's what we're going to be doing.
Sweet.
Hopefully. Hopefully a sesh.
We'll see. A sesh.
A sesh.
It's like a session.
I
It's like
got you.
the new lingo. You should know. Your
Should.
kids are younger than me.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques. Dave, we're talking about red snappers tonight.
Yes, Florida's blessed with a lot of different snappers, but the red snapper is like the king. Everybody wants. Well, there's some guys who like muttons a lot too, but the red snapper is kind of the king all the way around the state. Because he'd be caught everywhere in the state, and a lot of the other snappers are confined down there to South Florida, like that mutton snapper. But they're really good to eat, and that's why we're out there chasing them. They're all the snappers are pretty much bottom fish. They tend to orient towards the bottom, wrecks, reefs, ledges, hard bottom areas, a place where there's a lot of food. And so we'll go down, in depths anywhere between 60 and up to 150 feet, mostly for red snappers. Sometimes they'll get a little deeper, and sometimes they'll get a little shallower, but most of the time they're in that range. And what we like to do is, you're either going to anchor up on a structure or you're going to drift a structure. I'm a drift kind of guy. I don't like to mess around with throwing the anchor out.
Moving.
I like to keep moving. I like to position the boat where, especially up in the Cape Canaveral area where I live, we have a lot of ledges that run north-south. So you can get far down on the south end of the ledge and drift all the way up it. A lot of times we have that current going from the south to the north, so we can sit right on the edge and just drift a ledge for quite a good ways, you know. And a small little ledge will hold a lot of fish sometimes. And we're not talking, especially in like the Gulf of Mexico, where there's a big sand and a big empty, and then there can be like 4 concrete blocks.
Right.
And boom, there can be a pile of snappers on them.
Yeah.
It's crazy, because that's a good thing about the red snapper is when you find
He's very social.
Yes, he is a social dude.
He loves to have all his buddies with him.
Exactly. There's usually more than one of them there. A lot of times when you're catching great big ones, you probably won't catch a whole bunch of them. But if you're catching a whole lot of little ones, that's probably the ones you're going to be catching for a while in that area. But I like to try to keep from catching the smaller ones by using bigger stuff. But
yeah, big.
If I'm in an area where I'm catching a whole lot of little ones and they're legal, though, then you can do that as well. So a jig is a great way to catch them. A lot of fun as well. And if you're in a place like Pat was saying, you know, up where he lives, and even a while ago where I live, you could anchor up and start chumming and use it. We had this thing called a chum churn, which was a big PVC pipe with blades in it with a spring, and we could load it and just sit there on the side of the boat and do that chopping. And all that little chum would come out there, and the red snappers would come up from the bottom. They would come all the way to within like 10 or 15 feet of the surface. And you can target them with anything. I mean, Pat used to go out and catch them on the fly rod. Catch big red snappers on the fly rod up where he lives. But we would pick out the one we wanted and throw them a big piece of cut bait or a pilchard or a chunk of squid. Squid was really the bait that we used most often on our chicken rigs. You know, a double hook chicken rig with like 8 ounces of weight on a 100-pound test monofilament. That's all, you know, and use 40-pound test braid or even up to 60-pound test braid to get down really quick. When you're using braided line, you can feel every little tick and bite, and there's no stretch.
Right.
And if you have a good 6 foot a leader, you're going to have 6 or 7 inches of stretch in most monofilament. So that'll be plenty of stretch if you need a little bit of shock absorber from a big bait bite.
So let me ask you, black nickel hooks or the silver hooks, doesn't matter?
It doesn't really matter, but I like, you know, if I'm in bright water, I like to use silver hooks. I don't know why. If I'm in darker water, I use, you know, but usually if I'm offshore, I'm using silver hooks.
Okay.
Just
a preference?
Just a preference. And a good circle hook, an inline circle hook, not a offset
Yeah.
ever, because you know what an offset does? He swallows the offset hooks, and as it's pulling out, that little offset will come and hang on a soft spot in his throat or in his belly, and I'll pull, and then all of a sudden that little piece will give away, and then it comes all the way out. If I'm using that non-offset hook, it's going to get right there in his jaw, and that's where we're going to nail him. So, and you can also fish them with jigs.
Yeah.
They're great fun to fish with jigs. Red snappers love to bite jigs, either slow jigged or fast jigged. You know, the slow jig to me is just when the fast jig guy wears out.
Right.
And now he's just letting the thing stick closer to the bottom, because that's what we like to do. Anyway, there you go.
So a good rule of thumb, guys, is if you're going to try to catch one on artificial, do it when you first get there. They're more aggressive
before you
fish.
feed them up with chum.
That's right.
Those are some good tips, gentlemen.
That's how we got Brie. We threw artificial.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. We're headed into the Atlantic for the Dynapack Southeast Region Snapper Report with Captain Jimbo Thomas. So, Jimbo, tell us what we need to know.
You got it, Brie. Hello, Rick and Dave. You know, we do catch quite a few snappers here in the Southeast region, and a lot of them are red, but they're not all true red snappers. Now, it has been illegal to keep any true red snappers in the Atlantic federal waters probably for about 12 or 13 or 14 years. I don't even know how long. But they definitely made a huge comeback, and we do catch them on a more regular basis, where before we would rarely see one. Now, depending on which area of the region you're fishing, you might or might not be in federal or state waters. And the state waters extend 3 miles out from the beach, and the federal waters are 3 miles on out. So if you catch a red snapper from Palm Beach south to Key Biscayne, there's a good chance you're in state waters and you can possibly keep that fish as long as they meet that 20-inch size limit. But as you get south to Key Biscayne, good chances you're going to be in federal waters and you're going to have to let that fish go. Now, I've had my best success catching red snapper around the wrecks
and 250 to 300 feet of water in the winter months. So right now, we're not seeing too many of them. Plus, we're not fishing on the rec supplements right now. Now, our bait of choice is a live pinfish, but pretty much any other good live bait will work. Jigs also work. Cut bait will do the trick as well. And the fish on the live baits are typically a lot bigger, and the few that we catch are typically in the 15 to 20 pound range. Now, there's a federal red snapper mini season that's going to open up for 2 days in July. That's all we get in the southeast region, or in the Atlantic for that matter. And I'm pretty sure it's July 14th and 15th. The limit will be 1 snapper per person per day with no size limit. Now, I got a photo here. This is Georgia Ortega with 2 nice snappers that are red, but they do have black spots on their tails. So those are always in season, some nice mutton snappers. That's what we catch down here in the southeast region typically.
All right, what else you got for us offshore,
But
Bud?
staying offshore, we definitely have seen a few more wahoos in the past week than we normally would see. Now, most of those wahoos have been caught on the troll, either on rig baits up on the surface or behind a planer down deep with a feather and a bait or a 3.5 drone spoon. Now, the red drone spoon, that's been working very well, getting a few bites. Now, the bites have been in blue water, anywhere from 200 to 500 feet, trolling at 6 to 10 knots. There's also been some wahoos caught on the live baits, but most of the bigger ones have been on the troll. Now, they have been in the 20 to 30 pound range, although there were a couple of 40 pounders that I heard of caught yesterday off Miami. Now, also anything floating offshore has been holding some wahoos. You can try dropping a live bait under that floater or troll a deep diving lure, get those wahoo bites. But most of the wahoos caught under the floaters are generally a little smaller in the 5 to 12 pound range. Now, I got another photo here. This is Dennis Doyle with the nice wahoo that we caught on the Thomas Flyer off Key Biscayne not too long ago.
Nice.
Now, moving inshore, the flats fishing on the south end of the region has been seeing some really good permit action. Look for flats with lots of moving water between Caesars and Broads Creek on the outgoing tide. Most of the fish have been cruising versus tailing, and a live crab casting their path is going to get that bite. And since this is mostly sight fishing, wait for the sun to come up to get some good visibility. And if it's an overcast conditions, try working over the light-colored bottom. And most of these permit have been in the 12 to 25 pound class. Got another photo here. This is myself, yours truly, with a nice permit I caught last week in Sands Cut. Came right up to the sandbar, ate a shrimp.
Nice, Jimbo.
All right.
That was good luck there. But then we also got some good tarpon fishing throughout the region. All of the inlets and their adjacent beaches, they've been really alive with tarpon up to 100 pounds or bigger. In the north end of the region, a live mullet is the preferred bait. And to the south, live crabs is what's been working. Now, the tide isn't much of a factor when fishing the inlets, just so long as that water is moving. Also, all of the bridges of the ICW have been holding tarpon. They've been feeding on both live crabs and live baits. The bridges have been best at night, fishing on those shadow lines on the outgoing tide. The inlets have been the best early mornings and into the evenings.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the southeast hotspots. Jimbo says inshore, look for the tarpon in the inlets and around the bridges using live crabs and shrimp. Certainly at night will be a really good time to do that. And then offshore, fish the edges of the Gulf Stream with live baits in 120 to 300 feet of water for wahoos, kingfish, blackfin tunas, and the occasional mahi and sailfish. Come on.
Okay, anglers, get ready for the Key West Marlin Tournament creeping up on us July 19th through the 22nd. This fun-filled sport fishing event is limited to the first 75 boats and coincides with the 43rd annual Hemingway Days celebration in Key West. For more information and to get registered, go to keywestmarlin.com. All right, West Coast, we're coming at you next in the Discover Crystal River Northwest and Startron Central West regions. Plus, we have Chef Jeremy from Daiquiri Deck cooking us up something yummy. So keep those lines tight, and we'll be right back.
All right.
What could it be?
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your fish, our science. Bahio sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong. Blue water outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Kubota, together we do more. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Welcome back. I'm here with Jeremy Thayer from Daiquiri Deck, corporate chef, culinary director. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think we have some work to do, and it looks pretty good. So why don't we start off with, what is this?
Today we're going to do red snapper seared with a lemon caper parsley butter sauce.
Can't go wrong with butter.
Yep.
Always.
We've taken the time and scored the back of the skin.
Okay, why do we do that?
Well, this prevents it from curling up in the pan.
Okay.
And also helps with cooking it evenly.
Good to know. It's a good tip.
All right, we're going to hit a little bit of fresh black pepper.
Okay.
And a little salt.
Yum. So excited. Just put that on in there. Did you spray the pan with anything?
Just a little olive oil.
Olive
on the bottom.
oil, okay.
Yep. And you could use vegetable oil. You could use pan spray if you wanted.
Okay. So if there was some drink that we wanted to put with it,
Ooh.
what do you think?
The Daiquiri Deck.
What?
Paloma.
The Paloma. I love Palomas. Yeah, so it's tequila. So we're going to add a little Jose Cuervo. We'll add some grapefruit, some soda, and maybe even a squeeze of lemon, just because lemon's going with our dish. That sounds so fresh, so amazing.
That'd be delicious. Okay, we're going to pull that out.
Sizzling. We got to dress it up.
Okay. Now we're going to add a little butter to the pan.
Okay.
And if you'd like to add those lemon wedges right there.
Sure. All of them?
The lemon, wheels.
Okay.
Yep, go right ahead, these guys.
Just going to lay them on in here?
Yep, set them right in there. Okay. All right, now we're going to pull those out. Set those on top.
Oh, it smells so good.
We're going to add a little garlic.
Okay.
You can add more garlic, depends on what your flavor is.
I would dump that whole thing in there if it was me, because I love me some garlic.
I love garlic, and you can already smell that.
Yeah, it smells good.
I'm going to cook that till it's a little golden brown.
Okay.
Takes that astringent taste out of there.
So while that's cooking, what's one of your favorite items on the Daiquiri Deck menu?
So we do a lobster pasta. It's sautéed lobster and shallots and garlic.
Okay.
Glazed with Marsala wine. Hit with a little bit of cream, some lemon, and then we toss that in a pappardelle pasta.
Yum. That sounds
Top
good.
it with a little bit of arugula and fresh Parmesan.
Oh, that sounds so
So
good.
we added the lemon juice. We're going to add our parsley.
So you added the capers, lemon juice, parsley.
Yep. And now we're
butter,
going to slide the fish right back in
and
there.
that's it. This is so simple. This is great.
It's a good one.
Anybody can do this.
We top it with those little lemon wheels.
Okay, it's smelling like it's finished. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks great. Got a little caramelization going on the bottom there.
Yes, we do.
Oh, looking wonderful. So we're just going to pull this out right now.
Okay. Excited to try this. What do we got going on? You're going to
Want to
pour
get
that.
all that. We're going to pour that right over there. That's all the fond on the bottom of the pan. That's the good stuff.
That looks amazing. Looks so good. I think
Thank you.
I should try it.
Okay, we don't have a spoon for you.
I'm going to have this big old spoon. We're
Okay.
going to take a big old bite.
Careful, it's going to be really hot.
Should I wait? Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's good.
And I have my imaginary Paloma
Yep.
on the side.
Oh, beautiful. Nice.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Remember, go to daiquirideck.com or you check out all their social media outlets for their menus, for their drink menus. And of course, happy hour is always from 3 to 7. So make sure you head on over to say hi to Jeremy, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Brie, I can't wait to taste one of those imaginary palomas. But guys, listen, if you're looking for some red snappers, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region has them in numbers. And my man, Jeff Hageman, he's on the line to tell us all about them.
Red snapper can be found throughout my entire region. We have a ton of them, like Rick just said. No shortages here. 70 feet of water on out to 300. Any high relief structure, rock piles, wreck, artificial reef, bait piles, bait stacks, the pipeline, they all hold red snapper. As far as bait goes, pinfish, cut sardines, squid are all great baits, either on a knocker rig or a standard bottom rig. They're not picky eaters. Most of your big fish are going to be higher on the water column as you're looking at your bottom machine. All the fish that you see on top are going to be your bigger fish. So drop down your bait according to what height those fish are at, and you'll get those bigger fish, and you won't have to release some of those smaller fish that are on the bottom. Remember to keep your vent tool handy and release those unwanted smaller fish. Handle them with care so we can keep our fishery as strong as it is right now. And I've got a photo here of a great West Coast red snapper from Big Nasty Charters.
There's a big one there, Bubba. All right.
Staying with Captain Rob, Big Nasty Charters out of St. He went offshore, got to sneak out between these blows we've been having and get to do some deep dropping. He went out to 500, 700 feet of water using electric reels, deep dropping anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds of lead, depending on the current, multiple 6-aught hook, circle hook rig, and the queens and the tilefish were in abundance. Got a photo here of a beautiful queen snapper and another photo of a big old tilefish.
Wow.
So pretty.
Nice. Man, you
Good
make
eating
it
right there too.
You're
You guys
making
got
me
me hungry with that cooking episode I had to hear.
Yeah, right
Moving
here.
on inshore. The snook fishing in my region is on fire right now. This moon, they're going to be heading to the passes to spawn. They'll be concentrating in and around the passes. You want to fish the outgoing tide in the evening. Pinfish, pigfish, sardines are the bait of choice. 3 to 6 feet of 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader. You can get away with a little heavier line because the water is going to be dirty on this outgoing tide. 4-aught trocar circle hook or a 5-aught, either free lined or weighted, out and drifting through the pass is the best way to catch them right now. Moving on into tarpon. Tarpon are still going strong in my region. Fish on the Skyway Bridge, beaches, passes, flats right now. Pinfish, threadfins, and crabs. Bait of choice are those 3 right now. And this moon right now, there's going to be a crab flush that's coming up next couple days. It started tonight, and it'll be going the next couple nights. And on that outgoing tide, they'll be out there popping those crabs on top. So free line of crab out as you see those fish up on top of the water popping. Fish on the beach right now have been really spooky, so a stealthy approach is really good. I've been using my spot lock on my Rodan a lot, and I'll get out upwind of the fish, and I'll adjust it in 5-foot increments as it goes in any direction. I can stay locked in. Don't have to worry about running my trolling motor. I can just hit it over 15 feet one way and stay on the fish and make my cast, and not have to worry about keeping adjusting my trolling motor. That's a good little tip with that. That micro adjustment really works well. And I got a photo here of a stud tarpon with my dad and my brother. I got to sneak out and do a little much-needed father-son's fishing trip. And got that beautiful fish with my dad.
That is special. That's so awesome, Jeff.
So Jeff, I got a question for you. Crab technology. So you guys dip a lot of your crabs, correct, for bait?
Correct.
All right, so I learned this from Croca. How do you guys like to remove the claws?
So if you think of a crab's arm like your arm, if you pinch him with your pair of pliers right where his bicep is, he'll release his claw like a chameleon will drop his tail when he's running from a threat. So if you pinch him right at the bicep right there, he'll just drop it. It won't hurt the crab. He'll live good, and you can keep him in the pen. If you don't use him that night, use him the next night, and he'll just drop it off.
That is 150% correct. And you know
150.
what, guys, you just can't tear them off. You gotta actually let the crab let it go if you want those crabs to be used
squeeze
multiple.
the bicep.
Yeah, if you want them for multiple days
Yeah.
to survive, you can't rip their arm off. You gotta.
Wow.
If you rip it off, it will kill him eventually.
Yeah, he'll die in a day and a half. Get no love from your crab
That's a
after
good
that.
tip.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at those La Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. Jeff says inshore, tarpon along the beaches, passes, grass flats, pinfish, crabs, threadfin, herrings, free line or corked for bait is gonna work for the poons. And then offshore, the gag groupers on flat rock and live bottom in 75 to 130 feet of water. Pinfish and pigfish for bait on a standard bottom rig will work very well.
Here, Rick, here's your imaginary Paloma. Sip on that. Now we're drifting south into the Star Trend Central West region to check in with Captain Jeff Page on how that red snapper season adjustment is treating us anglers. Talk to us, Page.
You know, I can imagine and remember red snappers coming in the past on the big party boats when I was a kid, and they'd have them up on the nailed-on boards, and the seagulls would be following. And then there was some time when there weren't many red snappers caught, but now, I guess due to management, it's just been a recycle of red snappers. All indications are it's going to be a good shortened season, and it all starts in at least 150 feet of water. And what you're going to do is as you go out at about 120, you'll see marking your bottom, you'll see red snappers mixed in with red groupers. But then once you get out in that 150 to 200 feet, it's going to be anything you mark on the bottom, those are going to be your snappers. Live pinfish or frozen bait will work well. As light a leader as you can get away with, but I heard Hag mention we're going to have some rough seas, so it's going to dirty that water up. You'll probably be able to get away with a little bit heavier leader, like 40 or even 50 pound leader. 3.0 to 6.0 choke or circle hook will get the job done. And I've got a couple photos tonight, both from Captain Tim No of Gulf Coast Offshore Ventures, and those are both red snappers that he's caught since he got started on them, I think, in the last week and a half.
Nice.
Staying offshore, another species he's been catching are the scamp groupers, and they're starting to show up where the outer part of the red snapper are. They in about 150 to 200, and they're going to be on that bottom with the red snappers, and pretty much they're not as aggressive. So the less red snappers that are on the ledges or reef that you're fishing, the better chance you have at the scamp grouper, and he'll eat the same bait, the pinfish or the frozen bait. And my photo tonight of the scamp is from Captain Tim No again with a stud scamp grouper he caught on a snapper trip.
Man.
I want to go with Tim.
I do too. Let's go, Bree.
Let's go.
Call up Tim, get him on the line. All right, inshore, let's roll.
Tarpon, I heard Hag mention it, and it pretty much just continues on down all the way to Boca. Just what Hag said, you know, it's the most popular thing, and it's the best bite. But we've had some west winds these last few days, and it looks like it's going to go right into the weekend. Not that you can't catch them, but you do have to spend a little more time focusing on what section of the beach you're fishing, or around the Skyway, or like he said, down some of those sandbars on that afternoon outgoing tide from Egmont all the way down to Big Pass and Siesta Key. It's a good idea to have crab as well as some pinfish and threadies and mix it up, cork bait and free line bait. Once again, that afternoon outgoing tide is only going to get better as we approach the weekend. My photo tonight, Rick, you're going to remember this, but you didn't see him recently. That's young Mikey Vanetti, all grown up, that went fishing with you and Stacy when you shot a Sportsman's Adventures in Sarasota.
He was 8 years old. What happened? He
all grew up
so fast.
Wow. All right, tell us about the snooks.
Snook fishing remains probably the easiest fishing. Tarpon's tough. Snook fishing's easy. Live pilchards are the key all along the beaches and then inside the passes on both sides of Big Pass right now, really good. And then up at the Anna Maria Rod and Reel Pier at night, they've been getting some really big ones on live ladyfish. My last photo tonight, we had wade fishing last week, so I got one more really good wade shot of wade master Frankie Lippert right out of Sarasota Bay.
All right, thank you so much, Captain Page. We appreciate your hard work this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck hotspots. He says early morning tarpon bite with a free line crab, then cork a threadfin or pinfish south of Venice Pier to Stump Pass, and then offshore red snappers are holding in 110 feet of water on the ledges and hard bottom areas off of Anna Maria south to New Pass, Bree.
Speaking of growing up, everyone getting older, our kids show is next week on June 19th, everyone. Our studio will be full full of young anglers and action-packed with interactive stations that consist of casting, rigging live bait, and knot tying, along with games, prizes, and of course, lots of snacks. So here's your last chance to scan this QR code or head to our website, FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com, to sign up. It's going to be crazy.
Now, speaking of that, you're a little girl.
Yeah, she just had a birthday.
5 already, guys and girls.
I've cried so much.
Wow.
She's so big. All right, the Central East region is coming in hot next, but first we're seeing what products are hot on the market with Dave Farrell for Taco Marine new products at the CCA Workbench.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, that's one of my faves.
Coolest,
It looks good.
Looks like a real mullet.
It feels like one too.
It does.
I felt it.
It doesn't taste like
Rick will taste it.
like a mullet.
I'll
Rick will
taste
taste it.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're going to troll the edge with Taco Marine here at the CCA Workbench. You know what, Dave?
Yes.
Rigs and techniques. I mean, I'm sorry. New
Was
products.
last time. We did
new
that
product.
already.
I'm still trying to play catch up. But here we are talking about some new products this week.
Yes, Real
from
Legends.
Real Legends.
Yes, this is the new men's Mariner 2. You know, it's Father's Day coming up, so we want to try to get some stuff that Dad would like. It's not a tie or a can of Barbasol. But anyway, some men's Mariner 2 LS fishing shirt. You know, it's got a nice vented back here, really nice pockets in the front. UPF 50, moisture wicking as well. What's really cool about this one is it's snag resistant. You know, a lot of these this kind of material will catch a snag when you go by. Even some of these kind of these kind of shirts.
Right.
But you know this won't this won't snag like some of these other rayon and polyesters will. It's a snag resistant. Very
Dave,
nice.
I wear this a lot because I've got them in lots of different colors, and I want you to know, very, very comfortable.
Really cool.
But they really breathe.
Right.
This mesh keeps the
perspiration off your back.
Perspiration off of
It keeps this from getting wet too.
Exactly.
So and that keeps it from sticking to you, which is goes all the world when you're trying to stay cool.
Yeah.
Next we got the men's bonefish short over there. What I really like about these shorts is that they have pockets on on the front of both of your legs. Yeah. So if you're a right-handed guy, you can keep your pliers on the right. If you're a left-handed guy, you can keep your pliers on the left. Either way, both but same exact pocket on both sides. These are water repellent, UPF 50 as well. They've got a nice elastic waistband in there for the expandos like myself. Snap and loop pockets. So you got the kind of Velcro pockets there, and
very, very well
and
thought
long
out.
enough. A lot of places where water gets in there, it'll drain out as well.
Yep,
So,
very well thought out. Good job.
Very
Bells.
good shorts there for the
Real
men's
Legends.
bonefish short. Next we have the men's Vortex wide brim. This is a UPF 50. I like wearing these big wide hats. I actually lost one on an airplane one time.
You
Made
did?
me very sad.
How did
Yes.
you lose it? How do
I
you lose
left
something
it.
like this?
I left it. I get off the plane and I left it. It wasn't a thing, that I usually have.
You were sleeping?
It was pretty much.
And you
I
flipped
was coming
it
back
back?
from Australia, so yeah, I was ready to get off that 17-hour plane, and I left my hat. But anyway, it's got a cool underside,
It does.
It's got the lanyard on there to keep it on, so it won't go flying off. It might choke you to death when it comes flying off if you're in a boat. I've had that happen a few times. But make sure you pull it off before you go real fast.
Yeah.
Go to bellsflorida.com to get all these Real Legends stuff.
All right. Happy
Next-
Father's Day, men.
Yeah, get out there. Next, we got this Savage Gear. This is the Pulse Tail line through mullet. It's based off the 3D scan of a real live mullet, so it looks and swims just like the real thing. It's really cool. It's got this line through system. The line actually goes through, and this thing See how that goes like that?
Yeah, I see that.
And you can put it in. You can put it this way, or you can actually put it up through the bottom.
Yeah, it comes out the
Yeah,
bottom.
you can put that line up through the bottom and have the hook stay right there in between the little pec fins on the bottom, or up there on the top where I had it a second ago. It's got a little slot that big heavy duty. It's a big heavy duty treble hook. If he gets on there, he ain't coming off. And what that does is it doesn't allow the fish to use this pretty heavy, substantial bait as leverage once he's hooked up. You know, because if he had that thing hanging right on his face and he's jumping around, that weight of this bait can pull that hook out. But if he's hooked up and now it's way over here, he can jump around and that bait's not going to come out. So
You know
he can
what,
use it
Dave?
as leverage.
Dave, we got to continue to talk about this. We'll get to this next week.
All right.
Ridge and I took this down to Mexico and we created dredges. This is considered the white mullet.
Right.
And they also have a silver mullet, which is more gray and black.
Right.
We had 50 of these pre-rigged. Some of them had an islander in front, and then we had some that were naked. And the way these things swam on the dredge bar was unbelievable.
And that's what you want. You want them to swim like a fish.
Yeah.
You want them to pass the boat.
Yeah.
And that's what
Where
these
do we go to get these?
Well, you go to savagegear-americas.com to get your
That's a mouthful.
to get your pulse tail mullets.
That's a mouthful. You know what? I
Good
think.
job with all this daddy stuff.
Yeah, and I think everybody just thought of the moment that their wide brim hat choked them on the boat, because
Yeah.
I did. It's happened to everybody.
Yes, it has.
All right, we're catching all sorts of species in the Rio Legends Central East region with Captain Jim Ross. So Jim, tell us what we need to know if a keeper red snapper is on our to-do list this summer.
Well, they're just about everywhere in my Real Legends Central East region. That's a fact. If there's a piece of structure out there, you can pretty much find a red snapper on it as long as it's outside of about the 50-foot mark. It's been pretty darn good fishing here lately. I'm talking to guys that are catching 20, 25 in a day while they're trying to grouper fish. So you know what? But the problem with that whole 50-foot mark is most of the 50-foot marks are outside of the 3-mile limit in my region. And so most of our red snapper must be released due to that fact. The Atlantic coast anglers are allotted a red snapper season this year in federal waters, which is comprised of 2 whole days. Woohoo! Gotta like that. July 14th and 15th. So good luck to those of you guys and gals that do get out there on the water for your 1 fish limit this season. But red snapper will eat about anything. It's not rocket science. Live baits, dead baits, cut baits, soft plastics. You can even chum them up and catch them on fly if you work at it hard enough. And our average red snapper is about 8 to 14 pounds, but there are literally thousands of fish out there that scale over 20 pounds right now. We've got a picture of one that we released here the other day. This one was on my this snapper was on my, that's actually one we caught while we were triple tail fishing on buoy number 2 outside of Port Canaveral, believe it or not. And then the second one is one we released that was in my flounder spot. Which unfortunately is just outside the 3-mile limit, but there's another 20-plus pound fish.
Identity crisis.
So they're both out there for you guys and gals to go catch on July 14th and 15th if you'd like to.
Wow, Jim, tell us how you really feel. Go ahead.
Staying offshore, the Jack Crevalle bite is really heating up. And, like trevally, the giant trevally, the blue trevally, we have yellow trevally or Atlantic trevally. They're basically Crevalle jacks. And they're from Vero Cove to Bethune Beach right now. You're going to want to target these fish with large plastics. The Assassin Artemis shad is really, really a good one to throw at them. A 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce size works extremely well. Also topwater chugger type plugs. They're going to be in spawning schools this month. So you're going to find them up finning in the morning a lot of times or just slowly pushing along. And so they're not as aggressive then when they're kind of doing their thing. But afterwards, they get a little hungry, and you'll find them oftentimes around bait pods where they're balling them up real tight, and that's when they're super easy to catch. Throw those artificials, throw live baits in there, and you shouldn't have a problem catching these fish. We call them hour jacks because sometimes it seems like that's how long it takes to catch them. Our average fish is running 20 to 25 pounds along the beach, but there are a lot of fish over the 30-pound range, and here's one I've got a picture of that was a pretty darn good one we caught on light tackle the other day.
Nice.
Inshore, my speckled trout bite's really good right now, Rick. The Mosquito Lagoon is got some really good numbers, which is surprising because we haven't really been able to say that in the Mosquito Lagoon for quite some time. But from Pelican Island up to Cucumber Island, there's a lot of grass, and the fish are holding on just inside of the outer bars or just on the outside of the outer bars, depending on the time of the day. In the morning, you're going to find them inside when that little shallower water. As the day heats up, you're going to find them moving off of those edges. Live pigfish or small croakers are working really well. And then for some of those larger gator trout, over the 20-inch mark, you can use 7 to 10-inch mullet or a big croaker for bait. And the biggest fish are biting from first light until about an hour after sunrise. Then my last species is tarpon. And Rick, you know, me and you and my wife, Robin, we love our tarpon. And, you know, that's one of the things that we really, really chase a lot this time of the year. There's a lot more anglers that are starting to tarpon fish in the Central East region. Unfortunately, this year, because of the beach renourishment programs, the water is really dirty along the beach. And you know, that rebuilding of the beach, they're not using actual like ocean sand or beach sand. They're digging it from pits on the mainland and bringing dirt rather than sand out there. And unfortunately, it's creating a lot of problems between Sebastian and Canaveral with the bait fish, because the bait fish don't like breathing dirt, and neither do the tarpon. So you're going to have to get south of Sebastian down towards Vero, or you're going to have to get from the tip of the Cape north up to the New Smyrna area. That seems to be where it's best, especially from right around the observatory up through parking lot 5. That seems to be really, really good right now. And then, you know, you're going to find them in the Sebastian River as well. It seems like the fish that are between Sebastian and Canaveral, or basically Sebastian and Smyrna, have moved inside a lot of the times. So the Sebastian River, the Ogallia River, Turkey Creek, Crane Creek, and then areas along the ICW channel where you see pogie pods or pilchard pods from Pineda to Port St. John. That's where you're going to find these fish. Most of the inside fish are running about 50 to 70 pounds. Most of the outside fish are running 70 to 120. Use about a 5/0 to 7/0 circle hook on some 60-pound leader, and you should be able to catch one. And I've got one here that we released the other morning, as a matter of fact, and there's some pretty good ones in the lagoon right now.
All right, bud, thank you so much. Great report. Thank you for filling in for me while I was gone. But it is time for
my pleasure.
I appreciate it. The Rodan Marine Systems Hotspots is coming up from the Central East region. He says inshore, trout in the Mosquito Lagoon use live pigfish or small croakers around the areas of seagrass. And then offshore, the gag groupers on small natural ledges outside of 160 feet of water. Use blue runners, grunts, croakers for fish up to 30 pounds.
30 pounds. All right, y'all better snap to it. CCA Florida Star, presented by Yamaha, has already begun, and Red Snapper, as well as all other snappers, can be entered in the competition to win a share of $500,000 in prizes and scholarships. Registration for Stars open, and the competition does not end until September 4th, so you have all summer to catch and enter your fish. With 15 divisions, both inshore and offshore, there's something for every angler of every skill level. For those of you who may not fish, there is a Kick Plastic Trash division where you can be rewarded for picking up trash from the local waters. But guess what? You can't win if you're not registered. So go to ccaflstar.com today and do that. All right, we're headed to the Fish Bites East and Front Runner Boats Northeast regions when we come back. But before we go, we want you to take a look at that QR code on the screen and scan it to see all of our social media pages, links to sign up for our live studio audiences, new YouTube videos, and that full snapper dish recipe Chef Jeremy made from Daiquiri Deck. So make sure you scan, follow, like, and subscribe. Do all those things, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Welcome back, anglers. The details matter if you plan on getting your red snapper fix in the Fish Bites East region. So let's check in with Captain Mike Holliday on what those might be. Holliday.
Hey, Brie.
Hi.
You know, red snapper open in state waters on the Atlantic side out to 3 miles, but that won't get you many red snapper in my area. It's just a little too shallow. In federal waters, there's a 2-day red snapper season this year for the Atlantic. It's July 14th and 15th, and during that 2-day season, the best action will be on the northern end of my region from Stewart to about Sebastian Inlet. And in the summer months, the fish have a tendency to push out to deeper water. Majority of fish will come off the reefs in like 100 to 180 feet of water. And red snapper will eat everything from a whole squid to a live goggle eye to a threadfin, a mullet, live or dead, doesn't seem to really matter. You want to fish them on 30 to 80 pound tackle, 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, and a 9/0 circle hook, and just enough weight to hold bottom. Right now the current is smoking. It's been overdue. It's good to see. The average red snapper is 10 to 15 pounds. I got a great snapper photo that Captain Scott Fawcett of Off the Chain Fishing sent to me. That fish, he got in 170 feet of water and ate a live goggle eye. The other thing, the summer sailfish season is just kicking into gear and should go from right about now through the end of July. The summer sails tend to travel in small pods of 2 to 6 fish. What we've seen lately is more like 2 to 3 fish. They're just starting to stack up. It's only going to get better and better. In the last week, the best action's been in like 140 to 170 feet of water between Stewart and Jupiter. But I've heard fish out as deep as 350 feet of water and as shallow as 75 feet and all the way up past Fort Pierce and all the way south to Palm Beach. If you want to target the fish, troll and ballyhoo. If you want to cover a lot of water, you can also, once you kind of locate them, power drift, slow troll, or put a kite out with live thread fins, pilchards, or sardines. And when you hook a fish, try and keep as many baits in the water as you can to try and pick up any other fish that are traveling with it. One of the tricks is when you hook a fish, reel the bait in and cast it to that fish, because a lot of fish will dog the hook fish, and you'll pick up another fish that way. Average sailfish right now is 40 to 50 pounds, and I got a great shot of Tanya that caught her first sailfish in 165 feet of water off Stewart, and that fish ate a live threadfin.
Nice. Let's go ahead and go inshore, bud.
Well, the new moon in June is when the first big push of snook move into the inlets and out onto the beaches. We've got some great catch and release action going on at all the inlets, as well as at the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers, Hope Sound Beach, Bob Graham Beach, Walton Rocks Beach. There's also a good topwater bite taking place right at dawn and again at dusk along the seawalls and bends of the Loxahatchee and Finley rivers. And then out on the beaches, you just want to start your day casting parallel to the beach with a copper juice, a green hornet-colored saltwater assassin 4-inch sea shad. You can also use a pilchard or a croaker, but those artificials are going to do really well up until about 9 o'clock in the morning. And then out on the piers, the pilchards and sardines are going to be the primo baits. In the inlets, it's everything from a sand perch to a croaker to even a live or even a dead mullet. And on the seawalls, topwater plugs, die-dappers, and live mullet. Average snook in my region is going to be 5 to 15 pounds. I got a photo of fish that Brock, Brooke, and Sam's a young man who caught that and released that fish in the Indian River, and that fish ate a live croaker. Pretty nice fish you got there.
Nice.
Well, so the other bite, the tarpon bite on the beach has been slow because of dirty water, which is just starting to clean up now. That current's really going to help. But the schools of jumbo jacks have been stretched out from Palm Beach all the way up to Vero Beach. And normally the majority of those big jacks are gone by now. And when they leave, there's this 4 or 5 day stretch with just giant fish swimming by all day. That's going on right now. We've been seeing those waves of fish all week. So there's a really good time to get out and catch a few of those big fish before they migrate to the north. We don't have them for the rest of the summer. We don't see them again until about Christmas. The jacks are gathered on the beaches in big schools, anywhere from 100 to 300 yards off the beach. Approach them with a trolling motor, throw anything from a topwater plug or live bait to a big fly popper or a big baitfish pattern on fly rod. Average jacks can be 20 to 30 pounds. There's a lot over 30 pounds. I got a photo of a good one that Kurt Dewitt and Casey Anderson teamed up to catch, and that fish they got on a popper off of Hope Sound Beach.
So the last few weeks I've lost track of the bass fishing, so why don't you give me an update, Mike?
Yeah, water levels are super low on the Kissimmee Toho chain, so you really need to be careful navigating when you're out fishing. But they're in that summer pattern with a great topwater plug and frog bite right at first light. The guys are fishing over the grass around Goblet's Cove or around the mouth of Shingle Creek. In the Kissimmee, they're fishing the grass around Brahma and Bird Islands or just up above Camp Mac. Live shiners are working throughout the hottest part of the day. And the school bite has been lighting back up after the rainstorms in the middle of the day. I was talking to Captain Steve Nymiller, Bass Online, and he was telling me the school bass bite is going on late in the morning, like all the way up to 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And it's all out in the open areas of the main lake on Toho. You can target those fish with everything from a watermelon, red glitter, Bass Assassin Elite Shiner, or turbo shad, to a Houdini colored dye dapper, or a white spinnerbait, or a small topwater plug. It's like a 20 to 30 fish morning. You get around those school fish. Average bass is 1 to 3 pounds. If you're shiner fishing, you're going to get them up to about 7 pounds. So Toho, Kissimmee have low water, but the fishing's pretty hot right now.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H Marine hotspots. Mike says that inshore, the whiting and the croakers in the surf off of Normandy Beach?
Sure.
All right, and
Good job.
use fish bites, easy fleas, sand fleas, and shrimp, or offshore school kingfish on 6 Mile Reef off of Stewart, live thread fins, or Spanish sardines, or maybe even a wire stinger rig for the worker. I always say Normandy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not right.
Word association.
That's what it is. All right, let's head up to the front runner boats northeast region and see what Captain Tommy Herringer is having us fish for this Father's Day weekend. What's different about Tommy this week?
Look at that good looking hair. I just want you to know I got
he's
some
so
hair. I got some
jealous.
hair envy going on. When I had hair,
there's nothing wrong with low
I want you to know, when I had hair, it never looked that good.
All right, let's wrap it up. What are we fishing for, Tommy? You look good.
Good.
Red snapper, man. Thank you for all that. But we've got a great red snapper fishery here in the front runner boats northeast region. There's snapper everywhere, although you can't keep them other than that short 2-day season that Mike was talking about that we have coming up next month. They are a lot of fun to catch, and we got so many of them on the reefs and wrecks that sometimes that's all you can catch when you're bottom fishing offshore. Now, there's an absolute ton of those snapper on just about any type of structure from about 65 feet on out, but a lot of those bigger fish tend to come from a little bit deeper. The usual frozen baits like sardines, herring, cigar minnows, all those things are going to work well. But if you can find some live cigar minnows or sardines or even some pinfish, you might get into a little bit better bite, maybe some bigger fish. But if you're really looking to get one of those big fish, sometimes your best bet is to put one of those live baits on a flat line. Those big fish, they're pretty smart these days. They've been caught and released a bunch of times, so it's hard to fool them. Now, having that free line bait, it's going to look a little more natural, and maybe it will fool those big fish into biting. Now, there's also a great mangrove and mutton snapper bite happening right now in about 120 to 140 feet. And you can chum any of those snappers up, just free line a bait back. We've got a new moon this weekend, and you can bet that those snappers are going to be in spawn mode, which means they're probably going to be schooled up. Now, we're looking forward to that red snapper season. Although it's really short for a couple days next month, it's going to be super crowded out there. So just give each other some room, be kind to your fellow angler, and have some fun with it. And I've got a photo here, guys. This is Eva Barnes. She sent me this picture of her giant red snapper that she caught along with her husband, Jack, that was there in the south end of the region. They are one of the prettiest fish out there for sure.
So beautiful.
Now, staying offshore, guys, the kingfish bite has been wide open since last week, both along the beaches and offshore. If you find some pogies along the beach, you can bet there's going to be some kingfish in the same area. Just net some of those pogies, slow troll them anywhere from about 20 to 50 feet. Just kind of zigzag when you're trolling through those depths. The nearshore reefs, they're loaded up with some snake-sized kingfish as well. They're in that 10, 15, 20-pound range. Diving plugs and pogies are both working well there. You can also troll some ribbon fish, or a live blue runner, or maybe even a mullet. Some of the tournament guys are going to do that, looking for bigger fish. Now, speaking of kingfish tournaments, we just had the old school kingfish shootout this past weekend, and there was some huge fish that were weighed in. You had to stay within 3 miles of the beach for this event, which was pretty fun. And the winning fish was over 46 pounds. That event had over 650 boats competing. And that's a ton of fish came to the scales. And I've got another picture here. This is Milo Giviazda and Ollie Brittenson with Ollie's 39-pound first place kingfish that he won the junior division with in that old school kingfish shootout. I'm stoked for Ollie. He's the man, he loves fishing.
Good job.
So it's moving inshore, guys. The tarpon, they have really started to show up better numbers this week throughout the region. The inlets have been holding some big tarpon at first and last light. at the Mayport, St. Augustine, and the Matanzas inlets. Now, freelining a big mullet or a pogie is the way to go for those inlet tarpon. Now, there's also been some big fish around the bridges on the incoming tide, especially when the mullet are coming through. And then the smaller tarpon are all over the canals from Palm Coast down to Ponce Inlet. A large freeline live shrimp is going to be my favorite bait of choice for those guys, but they can be really picky. Be really stealthy when you approach those guys with the boat. It's going to be a huge help in getting those smaller tarpoons to eat. Now, also inshore, the redfish bite, it's been pretty good for me this week. The redfish have been unseasonably schooled up on some of the flats in the south end of the region. The average size has been upper slot to even some big overslot fish up real shallow. Now, my clients have been tossing topwater plugs, the Jaywalker, man, loving that plug right now, early in the morning and late. But during the heat of the day, you know what? The secret sauce has been a halved or a quartered blue crab. And speaking of using crab for bait, it's just about that time of year that the big bull reds start to show up at the inlets and the bridges. Crab, cut mullet, cut ladyfish, those are go-to baits for those big giant redfish. Just make sure to give them a proper healthy release so they can do their thing that they do this time of year and make lots of baby redfish for us. Speaking of big redfish, I've got one last picture here. This is Ryan Stillwell with a huge redfish he caught with me in about 8 inches of water, and we don't see a lot of redfish that big in shallow water, so that's an awesome catch for Ryan there.
That's beautiful.
Man, you got to make sure you tell Gibby Happy Father's Day. Way to take those kids fishing. I'm really proud of how well they did, Tommy, and I like your new haircut. Just even all the kidding aside, it looks great.
Man crush, here we go.
Here we go.
Tommy's the new one.
All right,
Happy
dude,
Father's Day.
Thank you so much, Tommy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Tommy says the tarpon at the inlets and along the beach at first light. Look for the rolling and the busting fish, freeline a live mullet or a pogie around the schools of bait. And then offshore, a kingfish on the beaches and on the nearshore reefs, and Rex slow troll live pogie.
You have some drool right there. You might want to wipe that up. All right, I have a feeling the Yanmar ASB Keys region will be packed full of dads and grandpas this weekend, so stay with us if that is where you'll be fishing, and we'll be right back. I'm going to get you a napkin for all your man crushes you have going on
The
right
Florida
now.
Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. Dynapack. Your partner on the road. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Dan Benson from Power Pole Shallow Water Anchors with some very exciting news. You can now operate your Power Pole Shallow Water Anchors using your Garmin Fish Finder. You use the Power Pole Sea Monster Gateway and hook it into your NEMA backbone, which talks to the anchors and talks to your Garmin Fish Finder. With the Fish Finder, you have the ability to operate your right anchor or your left anchor or run duals at the same time. You can also adjust the speed of how you would like the anchors to go, fast, medium, or slow. It's very simple to put on your screen. You simply touch the button here to add toolbars. You can add it to the top of the Garmin or the bottom of the Garmin. You have the ability to add different screens, chart plotter, fish finder, and shallow water anchors from your Garmin Fish Finder. For more information, go to powerpole.com or garmin.com to see which fish finders have the ability to control your Power Pole shallow water anchors. And that's your Power Pole tip.
You know, Brie, with a double tap and your multi-function switch.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Look, that's what happens right there. There it is.
That's nice. That's what's supposed to happen.
Exactly. Power pole up.
There you go. There's your tip. All right, the Yanmar ASB Keys region with Sarah Stanzik is a great place to be any weekend, really any time, and most species, but maybe not so much red snapper, but there are ways around that. Right, Sarah?
Yep. Hey, everyone from the Yanmar ASB Keys region. I noticed a pattern. You guys always put me last on some of these species like bass, you know. Not that I feel a little left out, but
You're not left out.
the
You're
keys,
the best for
like
last.
you said, is not the best for certain species. Bass are being included, and these elusive red snapper. So everybody around the state and off the Gulf up north, they crush the red snapper, and then down here in the Keys, it is such a weird season. I was trying to actually look up the dates to see when it's open. And it's so confusing because we have to go to like federal waters to catch them here. I believe it's July 10th and 11th are our 2 open days, and possibly the weekend after that if we don't fill our quota. But it's ridiculous. It's like a 2-day season, and then it's so regulated too. It's like you get 1 fish a day per angler, and you have to have that descending device on your boat if you're going to catch a red snapper, because you have to release them. But the funny part is, for it being so regulated, there's no size limit on the red snapper down here. So it's really confusing. But honestly, honest truth in the Florida Keys is that I don't really know anyone that goes out to target them because it's so wonky. And we have so many other nice snapper to catch, like muttons and yellowtails and this and that. So for a lot of work, just like bragging rights, if you catch a little one even and take a picture. So go somewhere else to catch your red snapper, I'd say. But similar to catching mutton snappers is where you'd find them, like 200 to 400 feet deep. And people like to use chicken rigs instead of that long leader we use for the muttons is how you would target one if you were to go for it. But moving on offshore, we've had a little push of king mackerel late in the season, which is a nice surprise. And normally we have king mackerel really good in like the winter and springtime here, but we've actually seen a nice little last minute, early summer push of kingfish. So that's nice. They like to use live bait like cigar minnows, ballyhoos, and pilchards to catch them. Kite fishing is a fun way to target them, but you can also slow troll a bait or use jigs. Got to have light wire leader and like a number 2 or 4 treble hook. That's a good setup. They put up a good fight. And as for eating them, they are really good to make fish dip out of. People love smoking them and making good fish dip out of kingfish. So take a look at this nice big kingfish caught aboard the Provider target boat.
Wow, that is a big one.
Woo. Yeah, for June. That's
Yeah.
nice. That's like wintertime kingfish, but we'll take it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Moving inshore, we've had some snook around the last week. It's, peak hot summertime season, so the snook are pretty happy. You can find snook on any type of structure like mangrove islands, creeks, jetties, and down trees. They'll also hide around potholes and shallow water, too, in the park. Pilchards are a preferred bait when the water's warm, but artificials will catch them, too. And a Penn Spinfisher 3500 with a medium light action rod is best with 20-pound braid and a couple feet of like 30-pound mono or fluorocarbon leader. You'll definitely know when a snook hits your bait. They have a really good bite. They're fun to fight. They jump out of the water. They shake their head. Like, they're a fun fish. Here's a snook caught with Captain Perry. And look at the guy in the background. He was hooked up to the second one. They caught double.
Nice. That's looking good there. All right, girl, what else you got for us this week? How about some bonefish?
I love bonefish. You'll hear me say that a lot. And I feel like I've been putting them in almost every report, but it's been such a good season for them. This year has been great. Like, people have been catching multiple bonefish every day, and that's a really nice change in the bonefish fishery around town anyways, to see that many bonefish be here and be, like, healthy. So they're one of my personal favorite fish to catch. We like to use live shrimp if you're not fly fishing for them, but they are really fun. A lot of people come here to the Keys and target bonefish with fly rods and fly gear, so they're really a fun fish to catch on fly, too. And here's a photo of a double header, and you might recognize that guy on the left is George Poveromo, and, of course, Richard, Bonefish Masters.
Yeah, there you go. 2 old guys making it happen. Good job, guys. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the Florida Keys. Sarah says that inshore, snook have been biting in the backcountry. Live pilchards are the best bait. If you want to target snook on structure like down trees, creeks, and mangrove snappers, or mangrove islands, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on my snapples. And then offshore, the mutton snapper bite is consistent off of the reef and deeper water. Live pilchards, butterfly ballyhoos are good, and baits, and use long leaders, 20 to 30 feet minimum. I want you to know.
Napa, even when we're at the Miami Boat Show and stuff, people come up to you and ask you to say just that.
I know, crazy, isn't it?
Crazy, you've made it famous. All right, we've got a bunch.
Snapper king.
Yes, you are. We've got a bunch of Keys tournaments coming up. First is the 60th annual Gold Cup Tarpon Tournament, where 25 top fly anglers and their guides take to the waters around Isla Mirada, seeking to have their names engraved on the perpetual trophy of one of the most revered fly fishing tournaments in the world. And then is the Florida Keys PBA Dolphin Tournament, where anglers fish in Key West on June 24th and 25th for cash prizes that increase based on the number of boats entered, and to support the Autism Society of the Keys and the Love Fund. Next is the Isla Mirada Fishing Club Captain's Cup Dolphin Tournament, where the winner take-all grand prize of up to $25,000 is awarded to the team that posts the highest aggregate weight of 3 mahi-mahi. And finally, we have the Key West Association of Realtors charity fishing tournament, where anglers compete for cash prizes and to benefit Fair Insurance Rates Monroe while targeting sailfish, mahi, blackfin tuna, and kingfish. For more information on Keys tournaments, head to flakeys.com. All right, everyone, we've set you up for a perfect Father's Day weekend full of catching a red snapper or two, but stick around so we can tell you what and who is fishing with us next week. I wonder who it could be. Pray for us. Little shorty. You? All right, next week we have all the kiddos in the studio. We're talking kids and fishing. It's gonna be so much fun, question mark. It's gonna be crazy, but you know what? The kids love it, and Dave does too. Speaking of kids, happy Father's Day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Kids are coming.
Thank
The
you.
kids are coming.
We got the tin cup
Drink the
coming.
tin cup.
You need to start now.
I need 2.
Be safe out there this weekend. Happy Father's Day. Boom.
Nice.